Yes. Long Fallen Dynasty. Another Soulsborne game by Team Ninja, the developers behind the well-received Neo games. The development producer of the game, Masaki Yamagiya, cites the critically acclaimed Bloodborne as a new form of motivation for Team Ninja. The Soulsborne genre is getting increasingly saturated, so does Long Fallen Dynasty deliver enough to stand tall amongst the rest? One thing to bear in mind is that I have yet to play Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, or the Neo games, which I'm informed by others shares a lot of similarities with this. Immediately after playing this game, I knew I would have to play those games, especially Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Make of that what you will, but you will know exactly what I mean at the end of this review. So, let's get into it. The story. The game is set in the Three Kingdoms period in China, or more specifically, the later Han Dynasty. The Three Kingdoms period of history is extremely popular in Far East Asia. It's been covered in many movies, TV shows, and even games before, like Dynasty Warriors. Some of you will recognize some of the names, including one very annoying boss, which I will get into later. Generally though, I had no idea what was going on in the story. The gist of it is there's an evil elixir going around corrupting people and leaders, which gives enough excuse to facilitate the introduction of grotesque creatures and humans corrupted by it, and you, the chosen one, have to save humanity. I made the mistake of playing this game with English voiceovers as opposed to reading subtitles. The result was me being subjected to some of the worst voice acting I have ever heard in a video game in my life, but I dare not change it. Why? Why did I go back to subtitles? Because it was like watching a slow-motion car crash. It was so bad that I found it funny. Have a listen to this.
Master! Master!
Demon showed up on the mountain. He went to find out what's going on.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm very worried. But we need to prepare properly if we're going up the mountain.
I am no liar. By the Azure Dragon Crescent Glaive, I swear it!
What can I say? I believe you then.
For some reason, the voice actors keep making these sounds like someone is constantly pressing at their diaphragm, or they were engaging in a type of activity that I shall leave you to figure out. To me, the story was just a distraction for the main spectacle of the game. Wolong's biggest strength by far is its combat system, which is fundamental for a Soulsborne game, but what makes it stand out is the fast-paced nature of it. The game heavily encourages parrying attacks. In fact, this is almost a necessity if you want to make meaningful progression in the game. Virtually every attack can be parried, and the satisfaction I found in successfully chaining parries and then unleashing a counter-attack kept me engaged in Wolong beyond completion. The parry system encourages players even in the face of the most intimidating of bosses, and there are many that feature in this game. The spirit gauge at the bottom of your health bar is almost like a stamina bar. You can gain spirit by attacking or deflecting, and then use that spirit to deflect further or use special attacks or spells. But taking damage from enemies or excessive blocking of attacks makes you lose spirit, and if you lose enough, you get incapacitated, opening you up to lethal blows. The whole combat system combined with the lethal blows leads to a very snappy and satisfying experience with a lot of depth when you combine this with the game's morale ranking system. Both the player and enemies have morale ranks. Enemy ranks are displayed over their heads, and the higher their rank, the more damage they will do, but killing higher ranked enemies means your morale rank increases. This encourages you to face more higher ranked enemies in order to level up faster, but you can also pace yourself by electing to have a more steady progression and face enemies that are only a few levels higher than you should you wish. I did not do that. There are a multitude of weapons and weapon types in this game. Each weapon has its own signature special skills attack, and you're encouraged to try them all out to find out one that best suits you. Weapons also have rarity levels, but you can upgrade your weapons and gear in the game. My weapons of choice were the dual swords, which were only rank 3, but I chose to level the stats of these swords up because I really like the combination of special attacks that they have. Enemies and bosses are well designed for the most part, with a multitude of normal and special attacks that you need to be mindful of. However, the game relies heavily on recycling the same types of enemies throughout the game. I can understand recycling human enemies, but it would have been better if every level introduced newer enemies where it featured them, because the later levels felt like they simply had a lick of new paint with the difficulty ramped up. Some boss encounters also came across incredibly cheap, and one boss in particular, Lubu, will be a bone of contention for many players unless Team Ninja make a change in an update. In fact, the game allows other players in the world to avenge you when they come across your flag when you died. So I had several reviewers actually message me and ask me how I fared with Lubu. I do think Team Ninja should leave him just as is, just to add that special flavor to the game, but without having played Sekiro or the past Neo games, I didn't find the game particularly hard with the exception of that boss, but I feel there is definitely enough of a challenge here to satiate fans of the Soulsborne genre. The levels in the game have various branching paths that you can choose to take. This is not an open world game though, so generally the level design is rather basic, especially when you compare it to the likes of Elden Ring. However, the game encourages players to explore using its fortitude system, which basically lets you increase and lock in your morale rank so that when you die, you don't go back to level 0. I think this is a great system that gives players choices to either explore and get stronger or allow more daring players to face bosses at a lower level. I don't recommend that. The game also allows you to level up using your collected genuine chi in 5 areas as you see fit. You can summon divine beasts, which you collect after you defeat bosses, and you can use wizardry spells, which you can also level up, which I personally found less useful. Often, you'll be accompanied by an AI partner or two, and I think generally this benefits the game by evening the odds a little and encouraging you to take on more higher level enemies. Some purists may, however, take issue with that feature. Also, if you wish to recruit reinforcements, you can. You can also ask for real-world players to assist you, but this feature did not appear to work during the review period of the game. Visuals and audio. Visually, the game is heavily reliant on its art style, and you can expect the same kind of visual fidelity you saw in the Neo games. It will not blow you away, but the design of the world, along with the soundtrack, do enough to make the experience engrossing enough. In terms of performance, the game has a 60 FPS mode, but on the Series X, I did encounter some stutters, particularly when cutscenes were playing or when I panned the camera across its X-axis. Stutters during combat encounters were very rare, but I did encounter a handful during some boss battles, which is not great for a game that can have a low threshold for mistakes. The camera in the game can be a cause for much frustration. Often encounters force you into enclosed areas, and this is where the camera struggles. In a game so heavily reliant on precision of timing for attacks and parrying, this is inexcusable, and I anticipate a few complaints on this front. So, conclusion. Does Long Fallen Dynasty deliver? In my opinion, absolutely. The combat system is the star of the show, and there's a lot of depth in it that will keep players engaged for quite some time. It's satisfying, fast-paced, and brutal. The game's main story has 7 acts, and there's a fair bit of content there. Beyond the core story, you also have sub-battlefields or challenges which are engaging, along with the option to invade other players like you've seen in other games like Bloodborne. As someone who hasn't had much experience in the Soulsborne genre beyond Bloodborne and to a lesser degree Elden Ring, I really enjoyed my time with this game. So much so that as a result, I'll be playing Sekiro Shadows Die twice. I did not anticipate that happening. However, I do feel that the simplistic level design, recycling of enemies, some cheap and frustrating encounter designs, along with a possible story, prevent Wo Long from attaining a truly special status. But overall, this is a title that I feel Soulsborne fans will enjoy. The game is also available on Xbox Game Pass, so if you are subscribed to the service, I do encourage you to download and try it, because like me, you may find yourself hooked to its combat. You can find my written review on Gameondaily.com along with reviews from a multitude of outlets. As a policy going forward, we will be giving away a copy of any game we receive a press or review copy of, starting with this one. So, in order to stand a chance of winning, please leave a comment on my written review linked in the description below. That explains why you are or are not excited for Wo Long will win that copy, which will be announced on our Go Live podcast that takes place on Saturdays. If you enjoyed this review, please like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you for watching.